Warning. Participants, please proceed with caution and do please enjoy this almost daily presentation. You are invited. Mr. Zeppo is now. Video game controller police car revolving light live police car revolving light video game controller presenting the almost daily Z live now on both TikTok and Twitch. Diving deeper into insert subject matter here. CTAG Studios, the production company that exists entirely in Mr. Zeppo's imagination, proudly presents Enter today's episode title here, Yin Yang. Insert title here, Yin Yang. Insert category here, Yin Yang. The almost daily Z Yin Yang. The almost daily Z, a variety chaos public discourse talk show style podcast. Gaming and content creation live Steam show Extravaganza, for your entertainment. Mr. Zeppo's TikTok live and Twitch TV dual platform multi-broadcast now with new and improved graphics. Welcome to the Zeppoverse, a content creation project of many projects. Visit the many dimensions of the Zeppoverse at this link collection page, https://solo.to/mrzeppo. This live show is a special presentation of the almost daily variety chaos content creation Zeppoverse project Yin Yang live on TikTok and Twitch. Yin Yang, featuring chaos variety chaos multi-franchise roulette wheel roster of too many games, and never quite enough time to play them all in. New and improved, totally rebooted iteration of this presentation now featuring new special variety completionist collection roulette mechanics with treats and surprises and at least one new spontaneous idea announcement per streaming session, plus Zeppoverse world building moments sprinkled chaotically throughout. Please, dear human audiences on Twitch, you are cordially invited to visit the official TikTok page for the Zeppoverse project here, https://www.tiktok.com/@TheIncorrigibleMarzeppo. When you do visit, please be sure to investigate the content I have curated on my weblog tab for public discourse. The incorrigible Mr. Zeppo, your new favorite fictional character from a book series that has not yet been published, is here, live on stream, commodifying himself for your entertainment. So please, dear human audiences, please have fun interacting with your host, the incorrigible Mr. Zeppo, in real time and engaging with all of his Zeppoverse brand socials. Viewers must be 18 or older in order to join chat. Give gifts according to platform tools and EULA. Remember, we are here trying to create a safe viewing experience, and we invite you to participate by also following the platform community guidelines. Violators, bots, sales scripts, scams, trolls and stream sniping haters will be called out, openly ridiculed and banned. Please support the ongoing creative processes behind this collection of different projects by listening to several episodes of the OG podcast episodes of the Podcast of Many Podcasts project, aka the Almost Daily Zencast presents https:// www.spreaker.com/organization/ctag-studios-9687696. Warning. The opinions expressed on the social media accounts of the fictional character known as the incorrigible Mr. Zeppo are the very real, very raw, very radically unscripted, very genuine thoughts and considerations and public discourse opinions of the creative content creation artist behind the Zeppoverse brand projects. Please be advised that some of those opinions may possibly be interpreted as potentially unusual, eccentric, or even mildly controversial by certain individuals. You have been warned. And now, without further ado, please give a warm welcome to your new favorite host and fictional character from a book series you have not read yet, because he has not actually really started writing it yet. The weird, the odd, the eccentric, the one and only robot from the future playing video games like a human being in order to survive your local caused preemptive political apocalypse. The incorrigible Mr. Zeppo. Insert robot audience applause sound effect here. Warning. Participants, please proceed with caution and do please enjoy this almost daily Z presentation. End of faux automated introduction script.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, and good night to you, friends, and hello! I'm back! Woohoo! Oh, that's the wrong button I pushed. No, hey, that's a good button. That's a very chaotic scene. Hello, welcome, friends. I've been away for a hot second, and you may be wondering why. I had to explore some urgent concerns in another dimension, in a parallel parallax universe, about which I am not at liberty to discuss with you. And also, on top of that, my modem appeared to have burnt out. Funny story there. Pin on the corkboard. We'll come around and talk about it in a minute. But hello. Welcome. Shout out to anybody out there that is an old-time viewer that swings by and checks out the videos on the video on-demand shelf after the fact, either on Twitch or over on the YouTube Deep Archive. Your viewership is deeply appreciated. Hello, friends. Welcome. DJ Zed in the background, playing some wild and wacky music for us, and me feeling all fidgety and weird and out of control because I haven't done this in a hot minute. It's not even really that long. It was just a really interesting and kind of annoying interruption to my whole process. Oh, there we go. I like this screen. I haven't used this loadout in a hot minute. It clearly needs a few minor tweaks and adjustments, but whatever. So, hello. Welcome. For those of you who are new, this is a public, weird, random, variety, chaos, multi-themed pre-game chat lounge session where we sit around and talk about all kinds of things, ranging from the latest video game hubbub and water cooler talk, and also some frank, upfront, real, raw, radically unscripted, genuine, and authentic personal opinions coming at you from me, myself, and I, and all my imaginary friends trapped inside the center of my skull, observing the madness that's going on in the reality we find ourselves. I'm stranded here with you, friends, as a visitor from a parallel and parallax dimension, which is, of course, a literary invention of mine as a character from the book series that I'm promoting, but also as an actual human being, right? As the content creator behind the character, this is my genuine and authentic opinion derived from a lifetime's worth of observation, questioning, the application of like critical thinking skills, for better or worse, my own background and conscious and unconscious mental configurations that I bring to that observation of the world. But I assure you that when I make declarative statements for the purposes of public discourse, I am not here to troll or own anybody. I'm here to go public with my genuine thoughts about what's going on. So to that end, this is your random, occasionally reissued reminder that none of this makes sense. None of what's going on, politically speaking, in the roller coaster ride of chaos that we've been on since a certain someone entered the political sphere not too long ago, none of it makes sense. None of what this particular administration is trying to get away with is on the right side of history. And anybody who is bending over backwards and tying themselves into a pretzel of irrational Trump administration, Trumptopian simping and sidestepping and dismissive re-engineering of facts and of scripture is lying to themselves in an attempt to misguide and those around them. This Trumtopian movement is dressing itself up in patriotism and is categorically un-American. This Trumtopian movement is dressing itself up in Christian ideology and yet is the most un-Christ-like political movement I've encountered in my lifetime of observation and questioning and critical thinking. Based on the teachings of Christ. You know what I'm saying? And all in all, it's sad to me that people are continuing to quadruple and whatever you would call double quadrupling down on defending this shady, manipulative, dishonest. There's so many adjectives you can go on and on and on about, like from, ranging all the way from the way he dehumanizes and objectifies women to how he treats those who are not wealthy enough to pay him money as collateral damage to whatever he wants and whatever his bazillionaire crew of sycophants want. This is un-American, with the most recent outrage of stuff. And it's been a mad, crazy first 100 days. So much so that I was overwhelmed and did not create a podcast whatsoever, even though I meant to do a whole special first 100 days of the admin. Of course, a bunch of other stuff got in the way, not the least of which is this thing with my modem. But yeah, folks, this is unconstitutional, un-American, and although I do not like mixing religion and politics, since they are doing so on purpose, the most un-Christ-like thing I've ever seen in my time of observing the public discourse and current events going on here on this otherwise beautiful and delightful planet. Sometimes I literally wake up and go, how on earth is this the timeline that we're living through? How is this what's going on? And other days I wake up prepared to do what little I can to call it out vis-a-vis my meager, humble attempts to make content and make and write, tell story, as it were. My book series has a huge portion of it which is intended to be a novelization of a fictional character's perspective on this ongoing bizarro chapter in United States history, in global history, because it's not just happening here, right? It's not happening. The movement that I criticize is one of many, and it's not been unfolding in a vacuum. And in light of the most recent absurdities because it has reached a height of absolute absurdity. This thing with the airplane, right? Like I said, for those of you who are watching, I'm not here to report any news. I'm here to discuss the news. And I've just been waiting for an actual huge, enthusiastic audience to get into the discussion part. But it's also, since I don't have much of an live, in real-time audience, it's really just a place for me to create. Hello, Senmon Vex, most recent person to join on TikTok. Sorry, I got sidetracked. I decided to go and check and manage that tab. I think although I stumbled through it, I think I said what I wanted to say as my opener. I'm a little wigged out because I'm also as I do this, I'm partially paranoid that modem, which has been showing its age, and which was as of last Monday, non-functional, right? Like I've been off the air for a whole week solid, which feels like a year. Time is so weird. The first 100 days has felt like a decade of madness. And this past week felt like a year's worth of waiting, which is so bizarre. But I'm back. I'm hesitant to celebrate it because I'm using the same modem. The modem that totally pooped out and refused to power up for a hot minute, which I've not been able to report about or share with you guys and vent about it because I haven't had internet. My phone still had cell phone signal, and I guess I could have done something about it, but I felt weird. And I kind of minimized my usage to just the social media reaction stuff. Speaking of which, there's a whole special show I want to launch, but I'm still not entirely sure what level of effort I want to put into it, so I haven't launched it. But welcome to this weird, bizarre live stream of way too many subjects and way too many things going on at once. In the immediate future today, we're going to be jumping back into our content creation that focuses on video game stuff. And I know that can seem wildly inappropriate given the state of affairs in the world, but I also think I do my part by making the content and saying the things that I've got to say in the podcast format, and this is a special crossover event kind of show. Speaking of which, my brain is all a mess. I must apologize to you and to anyone that's new that's like, this show is a disaster. I never pretended to be anything other than what I am. It's a casual talk show, chat loungy type of thing, but I don't have the capital investment to pay for special guests because, that's how people make money doing that. You gotta pay them to come appear on your show. Unless they're super awesome and amazing individuals that want to do it for free. But also, I haven't quite found my audience yet to make it about engaging with the audience directly. But here, we're going to break up the show. We've got this little gimmick that we got to do. Follow me through the Infinity Portal desktop of Streamlabs, desktop version 1.17.2. Genuine, actual, real-life endorsement. That's the platform I use. That's the app I use to live stream simultaneously to TikTok Live and Twitch. Right there. And that's using the free form, not the paid subscription form, which I also want to say good things about. There's a great debate, I guess, between OBS and Streamlabs amongst content creators. And for me, I chose Streamlabs. And I dig it, and I'm sticking with it. Anyways, thank you, Fernanda, for being the most recent person to join over here on the TikTok Live. I don't know who all else may be watching on TikTok Live. TikTok Live viewers. Okay, here's something that I hope you may find this is probably not due to the box. I've often wondered, are these dips? See this dip? Is that because of my equipment? Or is that because of something going on out there in the external world that I can't control? I'm not sure. Okay. Anyways, that was a very brief and dull and quick Streamlabs or TikTok live roll call. Usually when I come over here, there's a bunch. Hello, Carlita31 is our new top viewer. Thank you for that. Carlita31. Hello. So I can't keep up with the speed, with all this activity over here. And if there were a bunch of people over here, it's the same. Because of the way my setup is. And that's why I do this, in order to kind of highlight and feature the times when I do and can come over and take TikTok roll call. Okay. I've been away for a week because my modem died right after we had a power outage. It was a weird, very bizarrely extra super cold night, and there was a bit of storming. It wasn't stormy, it was raining, but we had a power outage here locally. When the power came back on, the modem wouldn't turn back on again for reasons that I was like, okay, and I'm kind of tech savvy enough, right? Like I tried resetting it and blah blah blah. The moment I had to jump through a bunch of hurdles to get customer tech support at my internet service provider to be like, okay, cool, you are who you claim to be, and you're not a fraudster, and we'll send you new equipment to replace this one that's not working. And they were actually really nice and said, yeah, sure, we'll swap out both, because the modem stopped working, but the router was fine. At least appeared to be. Anyways, like 15 minutes after that was like, boom, locked in. I don't know why. I don't know how. I don't know what happened, but the modem was like blinky lights. Boop, back on. It works. I'm back on. So that was bizarre. I guess I just wanted a week off or something. Needless to say, I'm excited. I feel weirdly guilty right now because, like, in theory, I don't deserve to be online until the new gear. Because I was like, I kept going to the store, and the people at the store couldn't help me. There was hoops. It was fun, hilarious drama. I want to write like a funny modern life slice modern life screwball slapstick comedy about customer service and the absurdities of our consumerist lifestyle based on that, which is why I interrupted myself to share with it. But like, there's a whole bunch of stuff happened there that I was getting increasingly frustrated. And on top of, not only, it was like, it was so bizarre because the blackout happened and it had been like a week's worth of really increasingly weirdly cold weather and rainy weather. And I was super about that. I was like, yay, can we make this an unusually bizarre, rainy, kind of cool, for some reason, wintry, rainy summer, please and thank you. And then like this thing happened, the power outage, the modem died, and then that next day and throughout every day that I was like running back and forth trying to get this thing fixed and talking to the people at the storefront for my service provider, and the heat just came out of nowhere. It's crazy. Anyways, long story short, I feel weirdly guilty. I'm apparently gonna get a new modem and router this afternoon, which is fine because these devices are on the slightly older side. Anyways, that's what's happened. That's what was going on with me and why I haven't been here in a hot minute. And I think also it might have been just the universe going, you need to reset your brain a little and just take some time off. Because I was feeling underwhelmed and overwhelmed all together at once about stuff. Overwhelmed by the absurdity of what was going on out there. And again, I assert to you, what is going on politically here in the United States and in several other countries, you all know which ones, is not cool. It's not normal. It's not good for humanity. It's not righteous. It's not Christian, it's not moral, and half the time it's not even legal what they're doing. And yes, we can have a delightfully deep and nuanced discussion about what is and is not on the right side of history, from everything that was the mess that was going on before we got to this new chapter. But it feels like and I think a lot of people are sort of by default trying to, make that the discourse. And it's like, that doesn't make any, we have crossed some boundaries, friends. We've crossed some lines. And this isn't just coming from the silliest and most knee-jerky dismissal debate tactic on this subject is that, is the whole TDS thing. And it's like, no, you don't understand. There are too many reasons why so many people, not just me, I don't pretend to be anything other than a concerned content creator that cosplays as a living, artificial, shape-shifting Robotnik from another parallax dimension, because that's what I'm writing in my book series. From the moment that this reality TV show host announced that they were running for office, there were plenty of people concerned for incredibly valid reasons. And it's just an amazing testament to the power of brute force gaslighting that we've gotten to this point. And here we are. Well, I've already said what I've said, because I had launched a podcast in the first year of the first administration, and I humbly invite you to take a deep dive into all of that to acclimate yourself and inform yourself as to where I stand on all of the complex issues involved, because it's not one simple thing. There is no simple, singular, monolithic way to address this, except for maybe the hippy-dippy new age woo-woo assertion that metaphysically transformational, evolutionarily like stimulating healing. That wasn't the right. I'm still finding the exact right language, but I've said what I've said, and one of the challenges I'm facing now internally as someone that just makes random nonsense as content in this attempt to participate in the self-commodification marketplace. Because what else do you call live streaming besides that? Right? Here I am commodifying myself for your entertainment and for your hopefully for your engagement in and participation with the larger ongoing public discourse. Because the one thing that I think a lot of people overlook in all directions and on all sides is that no matter how you slice it, folks, we're all stuck here in this together, right? Like, the species is stuck. We're all bound up in this together. We're all in this, for better or worse, together. And we have to figure out a solution that actually solves the problems as they actually exist, instead of faux solutions. Faux meaning fake, right? Fake solutions that attack problems from a delusional or manipulative or projectionary, nonsensical, or let us phrase it this way, weaponized and false kind of place, because the hypernormalization of weaponized false accusation and trolling for trolling's sake instead of earnest, genuine, authentic, critical thinking based discourse is the primary methodology or like psychological tactic that has allowed for this madness to get as far as it has gotten. And it's one of the reasons why so many people are so burnt out by it all, right? And but it's also the reason so many people are getting activated and stepping up into their own way of saying, hey, enough's enough. So here we are, friends, at a juncture where we still have an opportunity to build consensus and negotiate a solution or a nuanced set of solutions to the problems that we're wrestling with if we let ourselves actually transcend the malarkey, get past the ego-driven or ego-driven blinders that we have imposed on ourselves. And it's every which way, slicing in all directions here, because the very nature of us versus them is that it seduces everyone into thinking they are on the right side of history, regardless of where or what side of anything they may or may not be on. The thing that gives me hope is that I think we can achieve that. The thing that sometimes takes away all my hope is seeing how successful and how effective it has been, this effort to bifurcate the already like double-barreled echo chamber as like before all of this got escalated. If I would been making a podcast like this 15 years ago, or even 20 years ago, or even 30 years ago, it would have been rooted and anchored in the discussion and the challenge to the notion that the two-party system isn't inherently attached and inseparable from the rest of the complex system of many systems, right? Which is something that leads to this perpetuation of and the normalization and acceptance of the left versus right, which is one silo, and the right versus left, which is the other silo of the double-barreled, wedge issue-driven echo chamber that keeps people busy on a treadmill of argumentation. The fundamental problem of that has not gone away. It's just metastasized to now be left versus right, right versus left, and MAGA versus everyone. But MAGA is not, in my humble opinion, and has never been able to prove itself to be as a movement independent of the man who inspired it, right? Because it's too, as much as one might hope that it'll all go away if Trump is removed from power, or when he finally just accepts that he can no longer proceed with more power, or it's larger than him. But likewise, he himself never been able to demonstrate that he's, so the two never successfully, in my mind, from day one, from I Alone Can Fix It to today, from Golden Escalator, was that the same day? Was that the speech he said, I Alone Can Fix It, or was that two different events? I don't remember anymore. But from Golden Escalator moment of I Alone Can Fix It to today, he has truly fixed almost nothing. It's been a cornucopia of showmanship and misdirection and stagecraft, all of which is not particularly anything new in our political, in the entourage, or not the entourage, the tool set of political nonsense. But I digress. The alarmists among us still have plenty to be, shouting at the rooftops or hitting the alarm buttons for. And those who are invested in perpetuating the dismissal, the apologetics, the distractionary, nonsensical, bending over backwards to simp for this wannabe oligarch and wannabe tyrant and wannabe emperor of his own brand. This whole thing, it's the same fundamental mechanics of like they're being kept busy on a treadmill of ideological argumentation, none of which actually solves any of the problems that we face, and has only helped to create and contribute and complex and compound more problems, at least from the perspective that I'm looking at it. And I humbly invite you to join me in a journey backwards through time by exploring my back catalog of Good Morning Trumptopia and other segments of the Almost Daily podcast known as the Almost Daily Zencast. And also moving forward as I return to the Almost Daily process of trying to bring my thoughts into sharper clarity and present them to you in such a way that they might inspire you to go off and think through it all for yourself and apply critical thinking skills to the best of your ability to test whether or not my thesis is correct or not. And people will dismiss it in a heartbeat. But I think that we will never solve the problems we've created if we don't collectively encourage ourselves and each other to step off the treadmills, to liberate ourselves and our minds and our perspectives and our perception from the echo chambers. Because pin on the corkboard, and we've had many discussions about this in the podcast, it's fundamentally a perceptual issue, right? The political Punch and Judy show is perceived by those who are engaged in and enthusiastically throwing themselves into the act of running on a treadmill of perpetual mindless argumentation, because they perceive the world through the lenses of the ideological construct that they've let themselves buy into. Okay? Perception influences our ideology, and ideology influences our perception. if we're ever going to actually solve the real problems of insert everything that we argue and debate policy matters about, from homelessness to the drug cartels, because the ultimate irony about all of it is that fundamentally we all want the same things. Even the most extreme of the extremists, they just want safety for themselves and their loved ones and dominance, unfortunately. That dominance is often expressed in weird and different ways, but fundamentally that's one of the big flaws, is that it is inherent in the ideology of our postmodern cultures, plural, because there are many ideologies, but they've got a common subset. While as diverse and seemingly wildly different, the cacophony of competing ideologies may appear on the surface, deep, honest, critical thinking analysis will lead you to comprehend, if you actually look at it at all honestly, that they all have a very bizarre and extremely suspicious subset of qualities completely and entirely in common. And that's the stuff that hooks us into the let's just jog on this treadmill of spewing argumentation at others. And the thing is, because I don't want to be, I will be, I'm often accused of being a hypocrite. I've literally had people who pick up on they're like, I've been accused of promoting this or that or nonsense ideologies. Those are weaponized false accusations, because I'm not. Like, provably false, demonstrably incorrect accusations have been made about what my ideology is. But even people who've broken through that, beyond that, and at least endeavored to try to comprehend what I'm trying to say, they'll still say, like, your ideology of abdicating ideology is still an ideology. First of all, and none of this is really any of my own original thinking, in as much as that, like, what I've come to understand or what I've come to perceive, and I understand what the use of that word means, given everything I've already rambled about in this episode, what I've come to perceive as the most viable, potentially real solution can be dismissed as hippie, new age, woo-woo nonsense ideology that cannot possibly be real, that cannot possibly be true. But for all the reasons I've already discussed in the various ways that I've discussed it on my podcast, not just, the thing is, maybe I made a mistake of bifurcating them into different segments, but like, if you're like, I don't see this in your show, man, maybe you're only watching Good Morning Trumptopia, and there I reference it often. I don't deep dive into it, because that's what some of the other, like, unauthorized and explicit readings, that's where some of that heavier content is. Because we go to the receipts. I'm like, hey, I'm not just making stuff up here. There are reasons why at every historical generation there's whatever the status quo is, and then there's people on the fringe going, hey, y'all, maybe, just maybe, we might want to question these concepts and return to something that's more in alignment with the well-being of ourselves and each other as a collective. Words. Anyways, I'm spiraling out of control too, and I'm realizing I've been rambling for just about as long as I meant to ramble for this episode. 45 minutes and 25 seconds. Pin on the corkboard. There are many problems in our world that are almost entirely imaginary. We've discussed it before in the podcast, and we're going to be forced to come full circle and discuss it again. But for now, I humbly invite you to dive deep and explore by visiting the full catalog of my podcast in its various segments and special features by going to sprecher.com/user/Mr. Zeppo. Or for the most updated version of the link, come on through to solo.to/Mr. Zeppo. That's where I curate all my social media platforms and projects of content creation. But to try to stick a landing on something here, this madness is unhealthy, which is why I'm so deeply concerned about it, right? One of the prefab talking points that apologists and defenders of the MAGA movement come at you is that, like, you're obsessed. You've got derangement. You're so deranged that you're obsessed. Like, no, I and many others, but I can only really speak for myself, are deeply concerned because it's patently obvious to anyone with any clear critical thinking and logic being applied instead of idolatry and sycophancy and hero worship, that these choices they are pushing, the agenda items being pushed by this administration and those who created the blueprint, which the administration itself quite bizarrely denied being involved in, despite the patently obvious evidence that they were not only involved in, but clearly participating in the development and in the implementation of this collection of agenda items. When taken all together, it's categorically un-American, categorically unpatriotic, and categorically toxic, unhealthy for the human species, collectively speaking. And I know that's a big claim, and that I know that there are people already in my sphere that like follow along, ready and willing to do exorbitant mental gymnastics and pretzel bending to defend and dismiss the critique and try to minimize the concerns expressed and normalize the regurgitation of the malarkey as if it were sound and sane political policy and practice, when categorically it is not. And this plane is a perfect iconic example, right? To come full circle and try to stick this landing. Emoluments clause, emoluments clause, emoluments clause. And for the record, I said that like in the first 100 days of the last administration. Right? So pin on the corkboard there. If you don't know what that means, then you cannot claim to understand the Constitution and your own checks and balances of your own government. But it's a blatant violation thereof. I think they're going to try to get it through by, I don't know if this is his plan or not, but I won't be surprised if Trump has been or will be pushing some kind of influence campaign on Congress to get them to approve it for him, because unfortunately the clause has that caveat. And boy, do I wish it did not. I wish it were an absolute, although I'm not a fan of absolutist statements or absolutist boundaries, because A, only Siths deal in absolutes, and more realistically, based on physics, in reality, absolutist concepts are rarely absolutely true. But boy, oh boy, do I wish the emoluments clause was a little firmer. I wish it had a little more bite, a little more spine. This, without the approval of Congress clause, in our context today, if he hasn't thought of it, and I almost kind of lament saying it out loud because it might facilitate him in him coming up with the idea the way psychometaphysics works. We're all nodes on a big giant consciousness thinking machine, and minds sort of the more an idea comes up in in several individual minds, the more it's likely that someone who might implement it will think of it. But he can totally coerce in a very un-American and unpatriotic and unconscionable way. He can coerce Congress to approve this, thereby having the nonsensical and very, in my opinion, insincere ability to claim it doesn't violate the Emoluments Clause. But on its face, materially, it's a freaking bribe. It's a bribe. And some people have said, "Oh, but really, we wouldn't have the." And this is hilarious because it's funny how they didn't used to remember what the Statue of Liberty was and what it stood for. But I'm seeing this argument, the Statue of Liberty. I'm like, listen, Statue of Liberty is a monument that sits there. And to the best of my understanding, when presented, there was no way that the individual president sitting in office could profiteer from it. This airplane, and no matter how much they dress it up that it's being donated to the charitable organization behind his library, Donald Trump's entire lifetime track record proves that he uses organizations like that in a fraudulent manner in order to line his own pockets. He's been found guilty of fraudulent charities and fraudulent universities. Well, one university and one charity. So it would be obscenely naive of me to be like, oh, of course he's just going to take the plane and donate it and use it for really good causes. That is either willful ignorance or tragic naivete. Given his track record, his verifiable track record that you can go and read about in the transcripts of all the court cases that he's lost in a court of law and found guilty of fraud. Okay? But there's a deeper layer to it and a deeper issue to it. He said he wants to replace Air Force One with this foreign-made, foreign-built, super luxe, rich people greedy airplane. How is that America first? Y'all just gonna bend yourself into the craziest of pretzels on that one, aren't you? Never mind that, though. That's just branding. That's just the hypocrisy of his political promises. America first. So, what does he do on day 100 and whatever? He's like, I'm not going to fly in Air Force One, which is built here in America, maintained here in America, secured here by Americans. He's going to receive a corrupt gift, which effectively violates the Emoluments Clause, even if he can badger Congress into approving it, and can be seen and interpreted politically as nothing other than a multi-million-dollar bribe, especially given the upgrades packages that he's bragging about. But it's also tactically insecure. That's the part that I'm like, do you guys not realize that? Do you guys not understand that now your political idol, by the way, that's like a whole nother level of complexity. What percentage of MAGA considers itself God-fearing followers and believers of Christ, and yet they are idolizing this man in the most un-Christ-like fashion. But that's we can make a whole nother episode about that right there. But has it not occurred to them how tactically it's like a plot of a freaking movie where a corrupt foreign government is trying to either bribe and manipulate the American president or put him in critical strategic danger. Call me crazy, and I'm just saying, like, that's the first thing that came to my mind. That is so incredibly ridiculous to me. But hey, whatever. From the hypocrisy of it's not really America first, is it? To the, just willful ignoring of or willful neglect of how insecure and potentially dangerous this arrangement is. They're going to adulate and cheer and adore and envy it. And I'm sure it's tacky as in there. And that's why no matter what, and no matter how tragic, and no matter how sad everything else in the world's going on this is what pisses me off, is just how irresponsibly, nonsensically gaudy and transactional and about money and about Trump just milking his users and anybody, just like lining his own pockets. He is fighting corruption with corruption, and they are cheering for it, and it's embarrassing. And dangerous. It's dangerous on so many levels. Not the least of which that, like, there is no way to be 100% certain that foreign-built airline, and I'm not the kind of person that usually goes on in that way because I'm not into judging and or disliking people just because they're from another place. So, pin on the corkboard. Let it never be forgotten or ignored that I'm hey, human species, when are y'all going to wake up to the fact that you're all 99.9 with 1,000 decimal points of nines, genetically identical and interrelated? And stop bashing each other's faces into brick walls over malarkey. But pin on the corkboard, that's been a strong and consistent theme throughout, and I'm sure we'll have to come back full circle and talk about it again. Anyways, friends, this has been my real, raw, chaotically disjointed ramble and rant as I return to almost daily Zeppoverse content creation of all crazy kinds. I'm going to be doing things as totally irrelevant and seemingly meaningless as reviewing my most recent bit of favorite entertainment media, Full Circle 2, speaking what truth I can speak to this abuse of power going on in the world around us. So I hope you will join us for the discussion and the discourse. Please just keep in mind that if I'm in the middle of trying to play Call of Duty, that's not when I'm prepared or ready or interested in debating the political stuff. You want to debate the political stuff? First of all, inform yourself, because I've had way too many people come at me real strong want to argue about my worldview, my position, and my ideology, and they literally are just spewing regurgitated, obvious bullshit malarkey talking points because they have no idea what I've said. They have no idea what I'm talking about, and they have no idea what I'm standing for. So don't do that to yourself because it's a bad look, and it's easy to laugh at. And it's just going to annoy you even further when you realize, oh, he's got a point. I don't know what he's talking about. And for the record, I done said stuff, and I've done tried to make a little pin on the corkboard map of it. So you're humbly invited to gather the pins. There's a reason why I have this prop in my webcam field of view, and there's a reason why I point to it. So before you get up in my face, do me the intellectual favor of being like honest. If you're going to call yourself a critical thinker, if you're going to call yourself someone who does the research, then please step up with integrity and do your due diligence first, because I have said and explained my shit. I've said the things I've said in an attempt to explain my worldview, my political stance, what my criticisms are, why I disagree, where it's all coming from, etc., etc. I've done it. I will be the first to admit I've done it all in a chaotic and inherently pretty disorganized way, because it's all been real, raw, radically unscripted, and genuinely authentic, my sincere, honest, actual, in-the-moment opinion, and not some fabricated script given to me by anybody else. Ain't nobody telling me what to say, folks. And I'm self-aware enough to know that I understand the pitfalls of mainstream media because I'm one of the early adopters. It's fun when someone less than half my age rolls up to me with catchphrases and hashtags and memes that I either was an early adopter of or sometimes even the creator of back in the day before Facebook existed. Because for those of you who need to know this, here it comes. I am an old school internet, almost daily participant in the daily discourse that's been around forever. I've been on the internet since before AOL launched, which some people will find difficult to believe, but it's the truth. For better or worse, I've had in-home daily access to the internet at my disposal, with which I've been fascinated and exploratory and I've been trying to attempt to apply critical thinking to everything I come across. And rarely does anyone say something to me in an attempt to impress me or troll me or own me or change my mind that I have not already seen or heard or read 10,000 times, which means I've already thought about it. I'm willing to think about it again. But if it's tired, old, hackneyed, regurgitated talking points that have already been publicly debunked, that's all I got for you, is that. Put a pin on the corkboard. That right there, when it happens, that's what I'm going to drop on you. And it's going to come with confidence that might trigger or annoy you, but that confidence is established by my lifetime engagement in critical thinking about the public discourse being engaged in and that's been going on online that I've been participating in since before AOL existed. And that's just to say, I've been around a minute. I'm always willing to receive new information, but you gotta actually come at me with information that's new. If it's not, I'm just gonna giggle and point that out. Okay, having said all that, friends, I'm gonna reset. Thank you for being here. Thank you for dropping by. I apologize for the dust and the mess, but I am sort of about to engage in re-engineering my show yet again, so tune in and let me know what you think. But for now, I must bid you a fond farewell as I must take a break. Up next, long-form video game content with too many games and not enough time to play them all in. And also unboxing of new internet devices later, because they should be arriving soon. All right. Until next time, I bid you a fond farewell. I say peace, love, and grooviness at you, my friend, because I'm not here to belittle or dehumanize anybody. I'm here to say this is what I've come to conclude after a lifetime of thinking about it. And yeah, I'm willing to debate it. I'm willing to discuss it, but caveats and stuff I won't regurgitate. I won't reiterate. I just did it. So thank you. Peace out. Go be good human beings to each other out there in the real world, as well as in the game lobbies and on the social media and in the DMs. Because if you're not being good human beings to each other, what are you doing? And that's a question to all you self-proclaimed trolls out there trying to prove some nonsense point by just being a horrible human being. It's not a good look, and you're not winning anybody over with that. Okay, peace out. Till next time. I'll be back soon. We'll be right back.